Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to Let's Try Tapestry. Those of you who watched the channel before know I'm way into board games. I own dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and the latest acquisition to my real-life board game collection is in fact Tapestry, a really, truly beautiful game. And in fact, probably a contender for one of my top spots of all time. This is a game published by Stonemaier Games and developed by Jamie Stegmaier, and it should be no surprise that Tapestry is a great game, given that pedigree. Jamie is also responsible for other all-star games like Scythe and Charterstone, for example. Now, unlike those two, Tapestry does not have a standalone digital version, so I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of it here in Tabletop Simulator. It's also available on Tabletopia. Oh, that's what it's called, right? Tabletopia, another great virtual environment for playing board games in. I've played a couple of sessions of this online with my regular Tuesday night board game group, which only meets digitally right now because of the pandemic, and we all agree it is a stupendously good game. It is a game of civilization building, and I think the beauty of it is that the actual core gameplay loop, like the things you do on your turn, the actual actions you take on your turn, are incredibly simple to do and to understand, but the strategy of it is incredibly deep. Let's go through the initial setup over here. I've got things set up for 4 players. I'm going to be showing things from player 1 over here, who happens to be green. We've also got blue, white, and red over here, and I'm not using yellow for just this demonstration. During setup, what's going to happen is each player is going to draw 2 civilization mats. I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 of these into my hand. We're going to look at these. We've got leaders, which does things. We've got merrymakers, which does things. We're not going to care what the civilization mats do for this particular video. Let's say I'm going to grab merrymakers. I'm going to put it down over there, and I'm going to discard the other one. So this is the civilization I'm going to be playing as, the merrymakers, which do some things. The other thing each player is going to do is going to randomly take one of these capital city mats, which we're going to do, and put next to our income board over here. And this tells us where we are. Our capital city is going to be in the mountain this time. Excellent. And we've got some terrain over here that we're going to be filling up with stuff. One thing I do want to note, in real life, these tokens here, these little building tokens, as well as these landmark tokens, are these beautiful, like, molded, like, models, these figures and things like that, and they really look quite gorgeous, and Tabletop Simulator does not do them justice over here, this module that someone has put together. Don't get me wrong, this module is really great, but these models, like the physical version of this board game, is really lovely. Tabletop Simulator generally does not actually run the game for you. Some games have some amount of scripting, some don't. Here you really have to just know the rules and do what you can. It is worth noting, like many of Jamie Stegmaier's games, this game does come with automa rules, which you can find here in Tabletop Simulator. This lets you play single player against kind of an AI or virtual opponent. There's also an expansion for Tapestry called Plans and Ploys. I don't own this expansion in real life, so I can't tell you anything about it. We've never used it. We just usually, we can just take this and delete, because I'm not going to be using those things. Okay, so player 1 has completed their setup. The other players have already done that ahead of time, so they've got their civilizations and their city mats. The other thing you're going to do, so we're starting in the mountains. We're also starting in spot number 1 on the world map. So somewhere over here, right here, there's spot number 1. Yeah, number 1. That's where my civilization capital is. So what I'm going to do is take 2 of my outpost tokens and put it on there. Why 2? Anything on the map that has 2 thingies on it cannot be conquered. This means your capital can't be conquered. There is a little bit of possibility for conflict on this world map here, but it's a fairly minor part of the game and is not kind of devastating. Unlike other games, it's not so much that you can be completely screwed, generally speaking, by someone being very openly aggressive to you. The other players should be doing this as well. So blue is on wetlands, which I think is actually right next to us. So we're going to go ahead and do that for them. We've got desert tiles for white. So that's number 4, which is over here. Guess I could have done this ahead of time as well to save a little bit of time. My bad. And then red is starting in grasslands on spot number 5, which is right over here. There we go. Okay, so that's the setup. In addition to putting out some technology cards that we'll talk about a little bit. Then comes the first turn. On your turn, there's simply 2 types of turns you can take. You can either take an income turn, or you can take an advanced turn. Now, the vast majority of the game is the advanced turn. That is where the bulk of the gameplay happens. Income is something you're going to do exactly 5 times over the course of the game. When you take your 5th income turn, the game is over. That's how the game ends, when everyone has done their 5th income. Technically, not all players will finish at exactly the same time. Someone will take their 5th income before other people, but generally it comes out pretty close. Some people might get an extra couple of turns, just if they haven't been spending it as aggressively. Finishing earlier versus later, there's not any inherent advantage to them. It just has to do with the particular tempo that you're spending your resources in. But yeah, once all players have done their 5th income, that is when the game ends. On your income turns, there's 4 steps. The first 3 we actually don't do in the income turn. You can see the little numbers over there. So on our very first income, we're only doing that 4th step, which is to gain income from resource tracks. Let's see what that talks about. So over here, this is our sort of full income mat. And these are our income tracks. This is how much stuff we're going to get on each of our income turns. And what we do is we just look at the symbols. Now we're going to ignore the bits with the laurel leaves over here. That's not income, that's scoring victory points, which would normally be done in step 3 of your income turn, which we're not doing. We're only doing step 4, which is getting stuff. So I'm going to get 1 coin, which is this little money bag symbol. I'm going to get 1 worker, which is a little fat boy over here. We're going to get 1 food, which is a mushroom. Some people call it bread, but to me that's definitely a mushroom. And then we're going to get 1 culture from military. Sure. Culture, let's go with that over here. So I'm going to get 1 of each of these resources. In addition to that, I'm going to get 1 territory tile and 1 tapestry card, tapestry being the name of the game. So I've got a pouch over here with territory tiles. I'm going to draw 1 into my hand, and I'm going to draw 1 tapestry as well. Because normally you keep the territory tiles face down in front of you because they are secret. So these tapestry tiles we will be playing in future ages. Normally when we go through the income step, the thing we do on step number 2 of income is to take a tapestry card and play it on our tapestry board. And that's how we keep track of what era we're in. The first spot is auto-filled in by this Maker of Fire over here. That's what everyone's first income is basically represented by. But after that, we're going to be dropping tapestry cards on here. So we'll have 3 extra tapestry cards. And when we take our 5th income, there's no room for a tapestry card because the game is simply going to end. But we're not doing that now. I'm just showing you what that looks like. So I have 1 territory tile and 1 tapestry card in my hand. That is my full income turn. I've already done the income for everyone else, so every player has got a tapestry card and a territory tile in their hand, and they have 1 of every resource ready to be spent. So everyone's gone around and done their income turn. Now it's back over to me and player 1. So I do get a choice. I can choose to take another income turn right away, but that would be probably pretty dumb. Instead, we're going to do the main gameplay loop, which is to advance. And here's the real beauty of this. I really think it's incredibly tremendous. There are these 4 tracks around the board. And literally on your turn, you're simply going to choose one of those tracks to advance your token on, like so. You're going to pay the cost. So over here, this cost is 1 of any resource. Really simple at first. There's no particular concern. You can spend any resource you want in any order for your first turn because nothing in the game early on cares what resource you're spending. We can spend 1 of any resource to advance on this track or any other track. And then you just do what the square says. So this is the archery track. This token, this lets me conquer a tile. If I were to advance a second time over here, this tells me I can draw a tapestry card, and then I have the option, this section is called the bonus, I have the option of spending 1 of any resources to build an armory. Let me rewind. I will look at these turns, these different actions, kind of one at a time, and what they might mean. Let me start actually with technology. So let's say here with my player, the first thing I want to do is I decide I want to advance on the technology track. So to advance to this square, it will cost me 1 of any resource. So I'll take, I'll take a culture star and put it down. Then I get to do what it says on the pottery, which is to draw a technology card. So technology cards are over here. There are 3 face up. There's also a pile over here. I believe you can just draw blind from the top of the pile if you want, but the other thing you can do is grab one of the face up ones. Let's say, hey, you know what? My civilization, we invented the light bulb. We're very famous for that. These might not be in order. You might invent the light bulb, and then after that, invent stone tools or something like that. You know, we're just telling a story of our civilization. We're not necessarily telling it in chronological order. But let's say, yeah, you know what? I want to be responsible for the invention of the light bulb. So I'm going to take that and put this over here. currently this technology hasn't been developed. It's the X over here, we don't get a benefit. What's going to happen later on, there's going to be various places where you can upgrade a technology. First of all, that is actually something you do as part of the income turn. Step number 3 lets you upgrade a tech card if you've got one, which is great. There's also a variety of things, especially on the technology branch. Every time you see these like upwards arrows, those are where you upgrade technologies. And when you upgrade a technology, so if we were to upgrade the library over here, so it does that, we get the circle benefit. The circle benefit for the light bulb is we get another coin, so it gives us a free resource. If we are able to upgrade it a second time, we get the square benefit, which would allow us to build a market. So buildings are over here, and we're going to talk about how those get built in just a second. But let's say, all right, first turn, all that I did is claim light bulb. Now, everyone else goes and takes some turn. They can go anywhere. They can advance on any track. You don't get in each other's way. You don't bump anything. There are some places where you get a benefit from being first. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, all the other players are doing something, and now it's back to player 1's turn again. And I've decided, you know what? I want to advance on the technology track a second time. I can totally do that. So I have to pay one of any resource. So I will do that. I will pay, let's pay a mushroom. So it doesn't matter which I pick. Then I get the benefit. So for carpentry, the benefit is I get to draw another tapestry card. So that's the tapestry card over here. I draw that into my hand. I've drawn exploitation. Oh, that sounds very cheery. Excellent. I'm so happy about that. I forgot to replace the technology card after I drew it. So we revealed barn. Barn's very interesting. We're going to be able to showcase something in a second with that. Now, I'm not quite done, because I paid my my resource to move to carpentry. I got the benefit of carpentry, which was to draw a tapestry card, but it's got the bonus. I can pay one of anything to build a market. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to pay a worker, let's say, and I will build a market. So these are my market buildings over here. Again, in the real life version, these are much prettier. To build a market, we're simply going to take this token. First of all, it's going to be moved off of the income track, which means in the future, when I get income, when I take an income turn, I'll get 2 coins, one for barter and one for currency. If you keep going and revealing more tiles, you can see there's more benefits under each one of these. So the more stuff you have uncovered, the more things you get during your income. Very, very powerful to build those buildings. But building a building doesn't just mean removing it from the income track. It also means placing it on your capital board over here. You can place it anywhere that's not a red dot. The red dots are already filled with terrain. So let's say I put it here, for example. I can do that. Now, what happens with filling up this board? Well, there's 2 benefits to filling up this board. First of all, every time you fill up one of these 3x3 sections, so let's say I were to end up with something like this. So this section over here is filled up because the red dots are already filled with terrain. Well, this little symbol here is a reminder that every time you fill up one of these 3x3 squares, you can get one of any resource. The second it happens, you just choose any resource you like. You're saying, I'm going to get a mushroom. And then you get that. That's benefit number 1. The other benefit is every time, so as you complete lines, so either rows or columns, during the income phase, there's this little symbol over here. This gives you 1 victory point for every line, row or column, every line you have completed on your capital map, you score a victory point. And there's actually more of those symbols on here. You can see there's 3 of them, so this would effectively give you 3 points for every line you complete on your capital mat. So filling up your capital mat gives you resources and gives you points. Now, it can be hard to fill it up with just these buildings, but in the game, there are a variety of ways to get landmarks. And landmarks are these things over here. Again, in the tabletop simulator version of this, they're just these sort of cubes, but in real life, they're these beautiful models. But mechanically, they all work the same. Let's say somehow we got the fusion reactor landmark. This fusion reactor can be placed on the board to fill up space. So I could put it, say, over, oops, let me line that up a little bit better. I could put it, say, over here. And this makes it much easier for me to fill up the board. In fact, a good spot for the fusion reactor might be right here, because then I only need 1 more building to complete this square and get 1 resource of my choice. Or I could even conceivably use a fusion reactor and the barracks. And if I put the barracks, say, here, I was going to say that's not going to place quite right, is it? There you go. Like that. That would also have filled in the square. It also goes a long way to filling in this this column. So if I had a building right there, for example, that would complete that column. So now I would have gotten the resource over here, and I'm scoring points. Claiming these landmarks is a really strong way to develop your capital. Plus, it's just a lot of fun to do. I'm going to put you back over there. I'm going to put you back over here. I guess I could have used the undo button. These guys are going back here. Oops, no, don't move the board. Here, here, and here. So I still have the market, which I put down over there. I don't know if that's the right spot for it. We're just going to go ahead and move on. So that was my my third overall turn, because technically my first turn was that income turn. That's my second advancement. Everyone else is going to take a turn. Now it's back to me. I have only one resource left, but I can still move down any one of these branches, any one of these tracks. So I could go and advance down technology again and get the stone tools. So stone tools gives me an option. Either, that's the slash over here, either I can take another technology card, or I can build a market. Now, I might, at this stage in the game, decide, well, I can go either way. Building another market doesn't actually uncover more income. It lets me score more points for technology cards. That's what banking does. But I'd still only have one. So by uncovering this, I would get to score one extra victory point. And of course, it gets me closer to completing more of these, which might be good. Is it better to reveal a second building? Maybe. Or maybe it's better to grab another technology. Partially, it might depend on what the technology is and what I'm looking for. Assembly line is interesting. The benefit for it lets me upgrade something over here. There are limits. There's special rules for advancing this technology the second time. That's what these symbols beneath here mean. We're not going to get into that for the purpose of this video. So let's say I decide, you know what, I'm going to just build a building. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to decide to put the building. So do I want to focus on getting points, in which case I might want to focus on finishing a line, or do I want to focus on getting a free resource, in which case I might want to just keep filling up this cube? Which is correct? It's going to really depend on your strategy, I guess. Let's say I go ahead and put it there, because that seems fine. Okay, oh, and I had to spend a coin. So I spent the coin to advance to stone tools over here and do that. Now, everyone else is going to take another turn. It's going to come back to me. I can't advance again. I'm broke. I literally do not have the ability to advance any of my tokens, so I have no choice but to take my second income turn, which is what I'm going to do over here. So step one of your income turn is to activate civilization abilities. So some civilizations have things that some are just sort of always active and are triggered as you take various actions or whatever, and some have actions that happen during your income turn. They'll always have this red text, which is the case for the Merrymakers over here. So the Merrymakers kind of work a little funny. I'll give you an example of how they work. So the Merrymakers, at the start of the game, what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to put one of our markers at the bottom of each one of these. And then, at the beginning of our income, I select one of these tokens to move upwards, and I get that benefit. So, for example, if I take this token and move it here, I will get an extra coin resource. If I move it, if I move it here, I will get to draw another territory tile. We still haven't looked at what the territory tiles do yet. If I move it here, I just get 5 points. And then my second income, I get to choose a cube and move it up. So if I'd moved, say, up here, so I scored 5 victory points, the next income, I might decide to move it here for 10 extra, so a total of 15. And then I might decide on my next income to move it up one more time over here for an extra 15 points, a total of 30 points earned from my card. Is 30 flat points the best thing? I don't know. Maybe the best thing is to move here, get an extra coin. Then next time, move over here, get a worker and a mushroom. And then the next one, move over here, get a culture, and get to build an armory. So this over here on the left is more, we're going to give you more resources and hopefully use that to score a bunch of points, or you can get raw points. And the middle is sort of in between different types of resources. So here, yeah, we get another territory tile, which we haven't looked at. Here, it gives me a technology and draw an extra tapestry card. And then finally over here, it lets me explore and roll the science die. You don't know what that means yet. We're going to show that in a second. Let me finish my income turn as player number 1. Let's say, just to keep things relatively simple, I will move here, which will give me an extra coin. So that was step 1 of my income. Step 1 of my income, activate civilization abilities. Done. Step 2 is to play a tapestry card. So I've got these tapestry cards in my hand. I'm going to use one of these. Alliance, there's not much point in us playing this right now because it's about conquering each other's territories. Although you do get to piggyback on their tech. Let's go with exploitation, because you know what? Boy, it wouldn't be a story of civilization if humans weren't being absolute bastards to one another, right? So let's say we're going to have exploitation in here. So whenever I place an unexplored a territory tile on the board, I gain double the benefit, but I don't get victory points. Okay, well, that seems fine. Sure, whatever. We'll see what that means later on. So that was my Tapestry card. Step 3 is to upgrade a tech card. So I have a tech. So if I had more than one, I get to choose which one of them to upgrade. I only have the light bulb, so I'll upgrade the light bulb. And hey, that'll give me an extra coin as well. Wow, I'm rolling in coins over here. Step 3 has a second part, which is to gain victory points on the income mat. So on my income mat over here, anything with the laurel wreaths, I get to score those right now. So I get to score a point for every tech I have, and that's there twice. I have only the one technology, but I will get to score. I'm green, right? So I'm going to score 2 points from that because there's 2 of them. And then I would also get to score points for any line that I've completed on my capital mat, but I don't have any, so I don't score anything from that. And then finally, step 4, gain income from the resource track. So I'm going to gain 2 more coins, and then 1 of each of the other things. And then, and this is the part that's really easy to forget, I'm also going to get to draw 1 more territory tile and draw 1 more tapestry card. So tapestry and territory. Now, at this point, you might say, hey, so when you go and advance the age, step 2 is play a tapestry card. What if you don't have one in your hand? It's very unlikely that that will happen, but if you don't have a territory card in your hand, what happens is you draw one from the top of the deck and place it face down on your mat like this. So you still have to show that you advanced an era, but you don't actually get the benefit of having whatever the tapestry card may be. So it's pretty bad to go to an income step without a tapestry card in your hand, but it's very unlikely to happen. Anyway, that is my completed income turn. And that also shows off the technology track a bunch. What I want to do is I want to show off one of the other tracks. So let's say we've been ignoring what the other players have been doing. We're going to totally ignore Futurist. Futurist is very weird and different. The Futurist civilization, they actually, instead of starting here, they actually start here on every track. They start at age 2 in every track. They're very weird and very different. So I'm just going to go ahead and like pretend that doesn't exist for simplicity. So let's say blue player wants to do some exploration. So he's going to spend 1 of any resource. You know what? Hold on. My life will be a lot easier if we do this from the point of view of red. Let's say red player over here. Again, we're not doing these turns in order, but that's okay. Red player has decided they want to do exploration. We're going to ignore their nomad ability as well. So they spend 1 of any resource, and they move their cube up on the exploration track. So scouting lets you draw 2 more territory tiles. Hey, great. I'm going to draw 2. Oh, sorry, hold on. I need to advance the turn until player 4 so that we have the right hand. There you go. Player 4, scouting. They're going to draw 2 more territorial tiles into their hand. Great. That's their turn done. They spent a resource to advance here. They drew 2 things. It comes all the way back around to them. So their second advancement, what they're going to do is they're going to spend another resource of any kind, and they are going to advance on exploration a second time over here to rafts. Rafts lets them actually explore a tile. And here's the way it works. Their territory, they control this tile over here. These 3 tiles have already been explored. They can now explore any unexplored tiles, which are these grayed out or browned out, sepia-toned ones. Any tile adjacent to a tile they control. So they control the center tile, so that means they can explore here, here, or here. And to do that, they just grab one of the tiles that's in their hand, and they slap it down on the board. And you can rotate it, you can arrange it in a variety of different ways. 2 things happen when you explore a tile. First of all, you get to score victory points. For every side of your tile that matches an adjacent tile, you score a point. So here we've got water on water, that's a point. Water on water, that's a point. Here we've got water on water. These tiles actually have 2 halves, but as long as some of it matches. So here we've got water and water, that counts. So this would give us a total of 3 victory points. This, if I were to place it like this, would also give me 3 victory points, even though we match water and forest over here. Ignore the fact that some of these tiles have a little bit of a blue edging. That's just so that they look a little bit visually better, but this is forest on forest. So this counts as matching, but the water already counts as matching. So this is still a 3-point play. If I were to have put this, say, here I'd only gain 2 points, because here we've got water on water, so I get a point here. Here we got water on water, which matches. But over here we don't, because this is grassland. Grassland doesn't match the forest or the water, so this would only be a 2-point play. So, I mean, this one, luckily, is pretty easy to make a 3-point play with. So let's say we'll just put it down over here. So we match 3 sides, so red player would take their token, if I could see it, and move it up to 3 points over here. So that's the first thing that happens when you explore. You get points. The second thing is there's a symbol on the tile, and you get that. So here we've got a coin. So what I would get for exploring this tile is I would go to my board and give myself a coin, which is awesome. And that's great. Having an extra resource means I'm going to be able to take more actions before I'm forced to income, which is kind of spiffy. More actions seems more better, doesn't it? Now, I had another tile over here. Let's say instead of exploring this, I decided to explore this tile over here. As it turns out, this would also score me 3 points because this would be water on water, water, and water. So it's still a 3-point play. But this symbol gives me an actual building, which is really nice when you can explore. They're pretty unlikely. They're very unusual, so that is a huge win. So we'd actually get to build an armory if I explored that tile, which let me put it on board as discussed and reveal more income going forward. That is really good. I'm not getting a resource this turn, so my, the first play I was putting down is going to give me a coin, which means extra resources, so I would get to do a little bit more early on in the game. But this reveals more income, which should give me a stronger position overall, which is excellent. Now, red player wants to continue playing here. Now, it's worth noting we don't actually own this tile. We've explored it, we've revealed it, but it doesn't belong to us. If I want to explore a second time, which I could do, if I were to advance here to wagons, I would have a choice. Either I could build a, I think that's a farm. Yeah, either I could build a farm, so I could do this and do something like that. So that's option number 1 on wagons. The other option is I could explore a second time. So I would take another tile and put it somewhere. It's worth noting I can't put it over here because I don't control this tile. I only control this tile, so I'd have to put this here or here. I would have no other options. Let's say, though, instead of exploring to wagons, red player decides to advance up the military track. So red player moves here. So we spend 1 of anything to go to archery. This symbol over here lets us conquer terrain. It's very simple. Conquering is the most simple thing in the universe. You pick a tile adjacent to somewhere you control, and that is revealed. So it can be any one of these 4. So here, 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 or here. Any one of these 4 tiles is revealed and next to something I control, and I can conquer it simply by taking the outpost and slapping it down on top of the outpost, on top of the tile. Boom. I will now control this tile. You can only invade places that have 0 or 1 things. If something has 2 things on it, you cannot conquer that tile. If someone was already there, let's say yellow, who's not in the game, let's say yellow somehow controlled this tile, I can still conquer it. Very simply, you come over here, and what you do is you knock over the old outpost. In Tabletop Simulator, that's the easiest way to knock it over, to show that I control this. So red now controls this tile. Yellow no longer controls this tile. But there are 2 thingies on this tile, which means this tile cannot be conquered again. And that's really it. That's the entirety of warfare is this. So losing a tile, the only thing it affects you, the only penalty, the only pain to losing a tile is some of the incomes look like this. This gives you a point for every tile you control. So losing a tile means you'll get fewer points from those symbols. That's pretty much it. It also limits your expansion capabilities because yellow can no longer say expand to here because they don't have control over this tile, so they can't try to expand to there. That's about all. Now, in addition to giving you control over a tile, the other thing that happens when you conquer is you get to roll these Conquest dice, these 2 dice over here. You roll them both, and then you choose one of the dice to get the benefit from it. The red die always gives you victory points. A lot of times it's fixed, so if I choose the red die here, I get 4 victory points. On this side, you can see I could have gotten 7. This side gives you 1 victory point for every territory you control. But that's it. The red die always gives you victory points. The black die always gives you a resource. So here, if I pick the black die, I get a worker. So there's every symbol on there. And then this tile here tells you you get whatever resource is showing on the territory you conquer. So if I had gotten this symbol over here, the question mark, while conquering this tile, which has no resource, the black die would do nothing for me. So I'd really be forced to take the red die to get the victory points on that. And that would be pretty terrible. But if I were instead conquering here, this tile over here with the armory, and I happen to roll the black die and get this symbol, I would get to build another armory, which would be amazing. Amazing. So conquering can give you quite a few resources. There is a bonus if you're the first person to conquer the center tile. So for example, with red, if I had conquered here and then explored here and then conquered here and then conquered one more time to get the middle, the first person to conquer the middle gets a bonus. Conquer middle island, you get 10 victory points instantly. The second person to conquer it gets 5 victory points. And then after that, no one else can conquer it because there'll be 2 things on that tile, which makes it immune. There's other ones of these achievements. If you're the first person to knock over 2 of your opponent's outposts, so if somehow I had, you know, if white had come here first and I took that over, if white had come here first and I'd taken that over, so both of these outposts of white would be knocked over, that would mean I'd be the first person to topple 2 opponent outposts, so I'd get 15 victory points. Really, really nice. The other achievement you can get is to complete any advancement track. If you reach the end of an advancement track over here, so for example, if you reach AI Singularity in Technology, that would be, you'd be the first person to do that, you get 15 victory points for that. Okay, so we've shown technology off, we've shown exploration off, we've shown military off. I mean, there's plenty of things that happen in here, especially when you get to the later areas. The later areas of exploration, for example, interstellar travel. And you can always refer to the little cheat sheet to tell you what each one of these squares do if it's not obvious from the icons. I mean, after the first couple of plays, the icons more or less, they are very self-explanatory. It's a really, really good system, but it's nice that you have the sort of natural language explanation of each one of these icons as well. So let's talk about the science track. Let's do that from the point of view of white over here, because we're just arranged properly. So let's say on white's turn, they spend 1 of any resource and then advance themselves to astronomy. So science is a little bit weird. This symbol here tells us we take the science die, which is this one. Let me embiggen this because it'll be a lot easier for you to see what's going on. We take the science die and we roll it. And then whatever side it comes up on, we may then, we're not forced, we may advance our token on that track. So I came up with the technology icon, so I have the option of advancing my token on the technology track. Now, there is an X here. You see how it's got the die and then an X? That means I don't get the benefit from this tile. I don't get to take the benefit or the bonus of this tile. Science just lets you sort of accelerate your way down these tracks. Later on, so let's say we got all the way to medicine, and then we upgrade to chemistry. We go to chemistry. It still has the die roll, but notice it doesn't have the X. What that means here is you roll the die, you advance on that track, and you get the benefit from it. What's kind of nice about this is let's say we rushed up the military track. We're over here. Now to advance on military, it's quite expensive. It's 1 culture and 2 of anything. It's 3 resources to continue advancing down here. Quite pricey. But over here, it could be a lot cheaper, right? Because now here it's only 1 worker plus 1 of any resource. It's only 2 resources to advance down here. Heck, if I'd been ignoring science all along, it would just cost me 1 of any resource. I would be advancing, and then I rolled military. I'd be advancing here for just that, effectively that 1 resource. I wouldn't get the benefit with the X. Whereas over here, without the X, I would get the benefit of that. And then later on, insane things start to happen. So quantum physics, for example, lets you advance on 2 tracks. You could do the same one twice. With benefit. So I could advance down the military track twice, or military and exploration, or technology twice, or whatever. I get to do that, advance and get the bonus. Alien biology is really weird. You roll the die 4 times, so you advance on each one of those tracks. You don't get the benefit because of the X, right? But you rapidly accelerate your way down the tracks. And if you're trying to advance a track, like let's say I rolled this and I got science, I can't advance anymore. It gives me 5 victory points. This could potentially be a 20-point move landing on alien biology. Or if you get fewer points, it's because you're still getting some nice freebie advancements down these tracks, getting you a little deeper to some of the very, 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 very powerful stuff. So that's science. Science is a little bit weird, sort of this meta category, because it accelerates everything else. I don't tend to prioritize science early because I don't... It depends. You have to be a little careful because sometimes if you roll something, you might end up rolling, especially with the X, and it would advance you to somewhere that would cause you to not get the benefit of that tile, which you might not want to do. But that's why it's optional. When you roll this, you then may advance on the revealed trap in case you don't want that. So that's science. So yeah, military, conquest, exploration, done. Tapestry cards, you play them down on your turn. Game end. I think I talked about all the concepts. We've shown off technology. I've shown you the monuments and how you use them to complete the capital board. That's I think that's about it. Tapestry, wonderful game. Check the link down below. I'll send you to the Stonemeyer website for the game. You can also download the PDF of the rules over there. And I think it's really good. And the physical board game really feels like a very high quality game. Beautiful components, beautiful art, really enjoyable to interact with. Would highly recommend. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.